Howdy ho and good day. Welcome to all the beautiful truckers out there. Got a question. Have you noticed things changing lately? Have you noticed the news talking about everybody leaving the market? Lately, there have been a lot of places where that's true. And it's not just the small one truck operations, it's the mega carriers too. Why is this happening? What can be changed? Is it misinformation or is it just plain ignorance?
Shall we begin?
Technical difficulties seems to run the day, but we are here. We're going to get through this. Welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Truckin' Frontlines. We are the show that's going to make a difference in trucking. Yeah, I said it right. We are going to make trucking great again. One show, one day, one load at a time. Coming to you from the Truth in Broadcasting Network. We are about solving problems. We take what the mainstream gives you, we make sense out of it, and we deliver it back to you in a way you either like or don't. I don't know about you, but I can't trust the mainstream media. I don't know many out there that can. I do it in two ways. One, this show, Truckin' Frontlines, and another show I've just put together and started planning in the next couple of days called Truckin' City Journal. It's going to be a daily look at trucking news the way it ought to be, still featuring the premise of truth in broadcasting, but it's going to be more focused on the news and less on debate. Truckin' Frontlines, we debate it. We talk about it. We hear from you. Truckin' City Journal, you tell us what you want to know, and we deliver. That's the difference. So if you're joining us on YouTube, go down, take a minute, hit the like button. Certainly help the YouTube algorithm. Let them know we're doing everything great. Welcome in. If you're joining us on Driving with John's channel, we won't surprise you. We won't disappoint you. He is here. Plus, we got a couple other special guests. One you may know, the other one, not so much. But trust me, he's just as funny. We are all about the truth. We are the only call-in show where you can call in and solve problems. Yes, I said call-in show. 860-785-3547. That is our studio line. We are going to talk about a story today that's making people leave the industry in a not so obvious fashion. But is it? Well, you're going to find out. You know, I mean, all these industries, they're all about technology. They're all about, well, you know, let's make the environment safer. And, well, sometimes that comes with consequences. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to talk about a number of other things as well. Well, let's introduce our guests. One, of course, you're watching on his channel, one you know and love, and I welcome all the guests from his channel, Driving with John. Good morning, John. How are you today, my friend?
Boom. Good morning. The one that you know and love. You just brought the wrong guy up, man. I think he's still down there.
You always ruin my intros, man. I'll tell you. No, seriously. How are things with you today,
I don't
my
know
friend,
about
John?
know and love, but I'm doing wonderful. Loving
All
this
right,
nice,
good deal.
bright, sunshine day with good temperatures and ready to get to some
Right.
trucking talk. Whoa. Let's do this. I mean, like somebody said in the comments down there, if this was at Walmart, we'd be sitting for days because we're late for our appointment here. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Well, sometimes perfection has to cook a little bit longer in the oven. So you have to forgive the chef, you know?
Aha. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the way I look at it anyway. So yeah, I mean, we're putting it together a little bit at a time. I mean, I'm kind of on a really mixed up schedule. In fact, not that many of you need to know this, but I'm talking to you from almost the West Coast right now. So yeah, I've been hauling a little butt this week, and I've been extremely busy, which is why that Wednesday show didn't happen so easily. It didn't happen at all, because of my schedule. But hey, that's trucking. Speaking of which, that's a channel you can check out, by the way. Um, Shameless plug. Anyway, another good guest, a contemporary, a regular, and a guy who sometimes goes off the rails. Let me see. Oh, that would be the grumpy old part. I mean, trucker. How you doing there, grumpy old man?
I'm alive and kicking, I guess. Beautiful weather here in Oklahoma as well.
I hear you. Now I was looking. They're supposed to be getting some nasty storms where you're coming from. They're setting up for some nasty ones today. So you
I don't
better
know
be
what you're
about your
talking
wit
about.
tonight.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oklahoma, it's never a surprise, you know.
Tornado Alley. You had to live there. Anyway, can't tell if our other guest is ready to go. I'm gonna hold off on that one a minute because I can't see his screen. I'm gonna wait on him. All right, only because I don't want to hit him at the wrong time. The trucking industry at this moment.
Just do it.
Now I'm going to start with the story. The trucking industry at this moment is witnessing a trend. Many are leaving the industry, carriers and small guys alike. The exodus isn't confined to just small owner operators. It is reaching up and grabbing larger carriers. A recent survey in Bloomberg and Truckstop shed light on the reasons for this being high interest rates and declining freight demand, with 9% of people responding to said survey saying that they were considering leaving the industry anyway. And 44% of them said, well, they were just uncertain about the future. That's really nothing new. While all of this may be true, there are other factors at play here. And one such factor can be pinpointed by the following video. Stand by 1 second because I didn't have any of this prepped. So I will just go right off the hit. Give me a second. I'm going in the wrong direction to find it, naturally. It was this right here.
Thanks, Dennis. I was personally not a fan of inward-facing cameras due to, I think, the common concern of privacy for our drivers. I respect that. But this new technology from Netrodyne is really jam up. It convinced me that privacy was not an issue. The technology makes us safer and our drivers more profitable. Change is always hard, but change can make us better. Talk about cell phones, smartphones, the internet, now AI, which is a lot of AI incorporated into this technology, can really make our lives better and safer. That's very important. Our customers look at our CSA scores. So every time we get a cell phone violation, a handheld device, a distracted driver violation, that impacts our ability to get freight. And we always want more, higher paying, better freight. So I'm looking forward to what this technology can do for us and how it can make us safer and better and save lives.
Now, while I applaud the man for his apparent honesty, I have to wonder exactly what he's thought through. Now, I've done a little bit of research on Netrodyne, and it comes with a little bit of baggage because some of the research that I've looked into suggests that they're working out the kinks in their stuff at the same time Prime is taking on this huge deal. Now, with every new system and every new setup, there comes consequences. And it's abundantly obvious to me by a few others that work there that there are definitely coming down the pike some consequences. I could think of one right off the bat, and that's just the way the CEO started out with explaining how the systems work and what some of his concerns were. And initially started out with privacy. I don't care who you talk to in the industry. The idea of a camera facing you, just looking at you by itself, unnerves most people. And unless you actually do some research to find out exactly what that eyeball is looking at, you don't know what to think. You feel untrusted, you feel unliked, you feel unappreciated. And the first thing you want to do is quit. The second thing you want to do is you want to go in and ask for a raise. So we're going to spend the show talking about those differences and a couple of others as well, because I think there's a lot of misinformation published about their decision as well as the consequences of exactly what's going on with the implementation of this program. So I want to cover it from multiple angles. What do you think, John? You currently have a similar system set up in your rig, do you not?
Yes, I do. I actually
Yeah.
have outward and inward, but my inward is turned off. Um, on our system that we have, it has a LED for the outward and an LED for the inward, and the inward's always red, which means it's off. But I am not a trusting man, so I actually put my visor down over top of it, so it's never, even if it was on, they'd never see anything I'm doing.
Right.
I
Does your
always side on the side of privacy. But I
Right.
do understand that this is a company and they can do as they please, and we don't really get a choice in the matter, you know?
Yeah, well, now that was odd leading my next question. Does your company provide policies against or for that action you just told us about? In other words, did they
They don't have a
penalize you for
policy.
covering it?
No, they don't have a policy because it's always red. They're I guess you'd call it a policy. They have them turned off right now. But if you become a risk, if you have like an issue, then I guess they can turn them on. I don't know.
Right.
But for me, my visor's down because for me it is a privacy issue. I understand companies can do as they please, and you voluntarily work there. But
Yes.
for me personally, I don't care if I'm driving because I don't drive in a bad illegal way. But when
Right.
I'm not driving, I have an issue with it. So therefore,
Yeah.
I leave my visor down because I
Let's
don't think
take a
anybody needs to
small
see me
poll.
getting ready for bed.
Yeah. Let's take a small poll of those in the audience. Put down 1-1 in the chat if you don't mind having cameras in your truck. Put 2-2 if you don't trust them and don't want them in your truck. I would like to know, out of everybody watching, those of you that like them or don't like them. 1-1 if you don't mind them, 2-2 if you hate them. Basically, let's put it out here. I mean, the average person, I think, that doesn't understand exactly what these things are doing may not trust them, may not appreciate them, and therefore will make them make decisions they would not ordinarily make. What about you, Frank? What are your thoughts about an eyeball looking at you every minute of the day? And do you think it's every single second of the day?
Well, I'll tell you right now, I've worked for a few companies that's had those cameras, and majority of them that I've worked for, the camera that's inward, just like with John's rig, is turned off. So where they normally, and a lot of them have this little black tape that we can stick over the top of that one.
Yeah.
If you become a risk where you have problems and they feel that they need to turn it on, They will let you know. You gotta sign a paper saying that you're going to have it on. And then, of course, it's going to be watching you constantly. Am I for them? No, I don't really care because I'm just like John. It's a privacy matter. The way I look at it, though, is if you're going down the highway, the truck is in motion while the brake is, not in park, then let it record. But the moment that you put that brake, the inward camera should shut completely off. I mean, there should be no use of it whatsoever. And with today's technology, I believe that's possible.
Yeah. Well, let's scan the audience and see what comments we've got. WCF Invader, trucking emojis. Okay, like the idea. Welcome in, WCF Invader. Trucking is dead. He's talking about Walmart. TJ Bull of the Woods, top of the morning. God bless you. Welcome in. I'm glad you could join us. Inward facing cameras, this is from WCF Invader, are coming. Insurance has already begun requiring them. It's only a matter of time till everyone requires them. Union carriers are the only hope. Well, here's my thought on your statement. I do agree that they are an up-and-coming technology. I do agree that more and more companies are adopting it. But here's the thing. You hit on an important point, my friend, and that is insurance. Insurance, according to the president of Prime, and their statistics to back this up, more and more insurance companies are stepping away from trucking because of nuclear verdicts. And that by itself is a negative on the trucking industry. So a lot of people are now, not by people, I mean corporations, are now leaning on these technologies and these, if you will, processes to not only acquire the insurance, but to reduce costs. Now, what are the consequences? The consequences are that the people under you, the low guy, you and me driving the truck, we have no choice but to bend over and take it. Whether that's privacy infringement, whether that's, policy changes, smacking on the hand for every single, little thing that we alone without cameras do on an everyday basis that these people think is distractive or harmful behavior. Because the bottom line at the end of the day is they're looking to reduce costs. Okay. Somebody that may have a little bit of say-so in the whole insurance discussion. I remember a few lives ago, we had a very fruitful discussion about insurance and this very topic. And that was with this guest we have backstage. Let's introduce Midlife Trucker into the conversation, and let's talk about insurance. One of the good day to you, Midlife Trucker.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
One of the conceding points that the president was making about, and I didn't play it because I didn't have it queued up long enough, about the reasons behind the introduction of this new technology at Prime was because of insurance. The CEO touched on it because they were concerned that the higher their safety score became, with negatives and all that, and bad and worse, the less freight you get. So from a standpoint of at least safety and insurance score and safety score, I think they made a better and right decision. What say you, Tom?
Well, Rob Lowe's the former president. He's now retired as president, still owner.
Okay.
But in addition to that, they are self-insured.
Right, up to 150 million, I understand.
Right. So it's not a case of them worrying about it for insurance. They said that they are just worried because of some behaviors that they have found on violations. They've had some tickets for drivers being on their cell phones or drivers holding their cell phones. And so that's what led them to do this. In addition, that's their own words. They also had a driver watching Netflix going down the road who got a citation. Right. So they said that is what led them to do this. Now, only 300 trucks are getting them within the first year. So But personally, I've been in a truck that had it. And when I was at Millis Transfer, first year I was in trucking, I had an inward facing camera. And I may have triggered that thing a few times over that year that I had it, several times. And, normally it was triggered by things like hitting the brakes and things like that. However, they could turn our camera on randomly. Now, Prime's they're using Netrodyne, and they've got it set up where it's privacy masked out everything except the driver's seat.
Exactly. I was just about to
It's
point that out.
blurred everything. And it has no audio. Now, audio was something I liked less than the video. And also, when I was at Christensen, they had driver eye, so I've experienced with both of them. If this company that I'm with now, which we only have outward facing, no audio, if we were to go to cameras internal, I wouldn't like it, but I wouldn't quit because the culture of this company is such I wouldn't be worried about it. Whereas if I was with somebody like Prime, I'd worry a little because their culture's not quite what it used to be.
Right. That brings up an interesting point because one of the topics of discussion that came up on other channels was just how they're picking through all this. Now, think about it. They've got a boat ton, family friendly, of drivers, and they've got a lot of people to go through. Now, they're not going to be able to get them all this year. They're not going to be able to get them all right away, but eventually every truck Prime has is going to have this technology. Now, one of the things that they've leaned on and that they've said, don't worry, drivers, it's not a big deal because it's not going to be human eyeballs. It's going to be AI picking up, quote, bad behaviors. That's all they're concerned about, according to them. Well, I've got alternative opinions that say otherwise, which I'll get to here shortly. But think about it. If you've got an eyeball looking at you, in a second, if you've got an eyeball looking at you, picking on every single thing you do, I mean, it's fine if it's an eyeball because humans understand sometimes the interactions with, making a change to your route or, maybe hitting a single button on the dashboard to maybe turn down the heat or reaching for your drink. But sometimes these AI bots or whatever, they're looking at this stuff may have trouble picking that out. So a lot of drivers are concerned that they're going to get unnecessarily dinged for things maybe that don't require any behavioral modifications, if you will. What say you, John?
Actually, I was talking to a driver not very long ago, and we were talking about this subject because it is kind of a big topic right now. It has been for a while, but lately because of Prime, it's come up a lot more. And here's the thing: when you start off brand new with a company, first of all, like Midlife would say, do your research. If it's something you have an issue with, then don't go to that company. But most big carriers are eventually, if they don't already have this, and it's just going to be the way it is. Now, I understand for new drivers why it's a necessity because new drivers, they're kind of new and they're going to make some bonehead mistakes, as we all do once in a while, but it's more common with the newer you are. I think once you become a certain level, I don't think it's as important. Like I said, if I'm driving down the road, I don't really care if they watch me. It's when I'm parked that I have an issue. So, it's actually the cameras themselves are actually there outward facing to protect you.
Yeah.
It used to be everybody was in an uproar about outward facing. Remember everybody said, "Oh, we don't want that. We don't want that."
Let me tell you a little secret about those outward facing. Let me tell you a little secret about those outward facing, and I know this from the Litech system and driver eye. That reflection off the windshield, they can see inside that truck.
Yeah.
And by the way, they have changed that. The internal camera is only on when the truck is in motion. The outward is on all the time, according to the last Prime question and answer they had. But I can tell you now from personal experience. Now, of course, don't your trucks have curtains? Because when I park my truck, I put padded window things up that cover my windshield and side windows and keep the cool air in. And
yeah, that's what one of the comments was I was going to get to in just a minute. Good Lord, I lost track of all the comments. WCF Invader put that very fact up in one of his comments. So when I'm parked, my curtains are closed. Well, that was you. He also put the same thing. But he also said the outward-facing cameras have saved his butt when he got sideswiped. The company originally blamed me until he saw the film. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know of any trucks that are designed without curtains. So that whole idea
I actually
of
think it's
privacy
a
and all that,
requirement.
I think, yeah, well, and yeah, it is. So for that reason and that reason alone, I put very little weight on that whole privacy argument for just that reason. I mean, because honestly, when it comes down to it, if you want privacy, dude, you got all the privacy you want,
And where do
What's
you
that?
hang your hat? I mean, just hang your hat right over the camera.
I
don't- I
will
never
say something
hang
about
my
the
hat.
privacy curtains. The last company I was just with, some of their T680s actually did not have the privacy curtains for the windows.
Okay, but you
It
had a
only had the
curtain.
bunk.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
There has to be a curtain in the truck, either between the bunk and the front or the front window, one or the other, or both.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand that, but the factor
Well,
of it
that's
is the privacy makes it a little different. If you're a big
Right.
man like me, it makes it a little difficult.
Yes.
Where do you hang? Where do you hang your hat?
I don't wear a hat.
You would start wearing a hat
You kidding? He don't even have hair.
Well, he keeps.
or carrying
He
a
don't
hat.
even have
He doesn't
hair.
like.
You're
he doesn't
You're
like
talking to
wearing a hat because
Kojak
it
up
covers
here.
the dent in his head. Dude, that is a hilarious
Chuck-
comment right there. Are you gonna read that? That is hilarious.
Well, if you guys will hush long enough for me to read it, I would be okay with driver-facing cameras that I can use in my fans only. Oh, that's cute. I like that. But that raises an interesting point. Everything we're talking about can be explained right here. Come on. Technical difficulties, as always.
It should go on the trucks of people who come up with an arbitrary number. They've been here 6 months. You're 6 months solo or a year solo, and then you get the upgrade and have the camera removed because you've already proved yourself. Somebody's been here for 8 or 10 years that has no tickets, no accidents, no scrapes, rarely gets critical events. I don't see the added stress of dealing with that and the distraction of that, because in my opinion, it's going to be a distraction. So people that are saying, well, I'm just gonna go someplace else, I'll go to Walmart. Most likely, really, you're gonna go to Walmart. Do you know how many people apply to Walmart? It's really hard to get into Walmart. And right now in this economy and the way freight is, this is not a driver's market. This is a company.
That right there, she speaks the truth. It's not as lovely and rosy as we once thought it to be. It used
Walmart's
to be a day
got
and a time
cameras.
where you could just. True, they do, and I was just about to get to that. I mean, but the last point she makes is, you can't just quit a job because of inward-facing cameras and expect to just launch across the industry and find another company magically without cameras, because soon enough, we're going to be faced with, as I think you pointed out, Tom, we're going to be faced with everyone having a requirement to have cameras in order to have the damn truck moving. So you can't get away from them, folks. We have to deal with them. So it's important, I think, to understand exactly what it is they're looking for, A. B, what it is these companies, and we're not talking about just one, we got several now, are looking for. Are they looking to dwindle down their driver base, or are they looking to build up? A lot of people think that they're being stupid and that Prime's going to lose a lot of drivers. You know what? They're going to lose a lot of drivers. No arguing that point. Yes. But are they going to get more back? Yeah, they will. They're going to get them back just as quickly as they all leave. I think one of you pointed out that they've got a brand new truck sitting on their thing because somebody walked away from it because of cameras. Okay, well, that thing's going to be filled next month. It's probably already on the road right now. They're not worried about things. Prime is a training type of company. I don't know how they classify it. It's been said once or twice. But people come directly out of school with little experience to start driving with them and drive with trainers. So for that reason alone, they're wanting to make sure that they've got their bases covered. And yeah, you're damn straight they want to make sure their customers are willing to ask, the right questions and work with them. Because without that, they can't bring on new drivers. They can't make raises if they even have. I don't know. But there's a lot to be said for companies that don't make improvements to improve the environment and improve the work conditions. And you know what? I can't speak for Prime. I can speak from my private experiences. What say you, Frank?
Well, I'd have to say basically, cameras are, like you're saying, it's going to be a thing where it's constant. Cameras going in these trucks basically on a daily basis. And it's just one thing, even like with your company you're with, as small as your company is privately owned, eventually he's going to have to put cameras in to help him with his insurance rates. Not because it's to annoy you drivers that drive for him, but for his sake, to help him save a few dollars, because everywhere you can cut costs by putting something like this in, it helps. So, exactly. I mean, it's now there again, it's up to him if he wants to have it where it's shining in, looking at you all the time.
Right.
And if you're a company driver and you're driving for him and he owns it, I mean, you don't have much options. I mean, it's either do it or look for another line of work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty true of every company. I mean, I'm talking to at least 2 guys on the panel that have dealt with it. I mean, in terms of knowing about it, knowing how it works. Another fellow on the panel probably could out-research me in 10 seconds about everything. But yeah, I'm talking about you, Tom. I'm picking on you, actually. But that being said, I mean, I stayed up late a couple of nights this week, just looking at the issue from 30,000 feet. I mean, people are afraid of cameras and they're afraid of what can be done. So one of the questions I'm raising in this conversation, just because I want to see what you guys think, and you in the audience also answer this question: is it necessarily a bad thing for cameras to be watching a driver? Now, before you answer the question, let's go from this standpoint now. All right. Prime says what they're looking for is bad behaviors, distracted behaviors, when people don't stop at stop signs completely, or things that are common infractions that come up on inspections and traffic stops. Now, what they've said is they're not looking at things when the truck is stationary. But the point I raised, and the point I can't find arguments proving otherwise, is that they don't have access to it when the truck is idling and when it's not moving. And I've got something to prove that point very succinctly. In 1 second. In fact, I brought it up last night, last minute. See if I can find it right here. Just watch this. Come on, you slowpoke internet connection. No, it's not my internet. It's my computer. Go ahead and argue with me. See if it gets you anywhere. Huh?
I was just saying hi to 176.
Yeah, I was going to say hi to him.
Surveillance camera footage of an Amazon delivery driver being surprised by a customer's dog jumping into their van to greet them. Cute, right? But the video becomes more sinister the longer you watch. Listen to the dialogue.
See us, Joey? Little visitor?
A dog?
Yeah, it jumped right in.
What is that, a Frenchie?
That was more of a... Well, no, that was more of a bulldog.
She had a little guest with her today.
The people watching the video and talking in the background are the people who run the delivery service partners that work with Amazon to deliver packages. What they're looking at is footage that was sent to them by Netrodyne Driver Eye, the AI-powered surveillance cameras installed in most Amazon vans that are used to detect speed changes and incidents of distracted driving, like, say, when a dog jumps into your stationary van to say hello. Those cameras record.
Did you catch the cynicism in that statement? It's supposed to catch you only when the truck is in motion. Now, that was a van and it was a different company. But I thought it funny to bring up because in that case, that same setup and system was supposed to catch it only when it's in motion, yet the driver was stationary making a delivery. And they're sitting there back at the company laughing at what's going on. Now, it later went to make the point as, well, yeah, it's supposed to do one thing, but it's also up to those managing the program as to whether they do another. So now I bring this up as, I'm trying to be objective here. I get it that you want to help your drivers and you want to make the world safer. But again, like I started out the whole live with, what are the consequences? Are you taking into account that, you know what, there's going to be a percentage of people that just don't get it? What do you think, Tom? How many people do you think are going to have major issues with this?
Oh, a lot of people are going to have issues with it. My wife was riding with me and I would drive down the road. And when that camera triggered, she said my mood went to crap. You could tell the camera triggers because it does this little blinking light thing. Yeah. And I was driving down the road and hit one of them giant potholes in Chicago. Yeah. And about the time I hit it, the camera triggered. Mm-hmm. It's like, in my mind now, I'm going, oh, what did they see? What was going on at the second that thing went off? And when you see the flashing light, that's not when it's triggering. The flashing light is when it's uploading. It's already triggered before that, and it uploaded. Right. Well, what did it upload? And of course, at Millis, we could log into the cameras, and I would log in, but it'd take 5-6 hours before it'd show up because it went to the LYTX, the Lytix, or whatever they're called. They would look at it. They would upload it. And then, of course, you have to wait for the comments and see what they would write underneath it. And that particular time, all it said was rough road. But did I have a coffee cup in my hand? Are they going to say that's why I hit the pothole? Or not the fact that the pothole went all the way across the damn road? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, think about it, Frank. You yourself said you had issues with access to the footage. I think, was it the last company or a company before that had the driver facing cameras? And you tried for the longest time to get access and you were flat out told, no, it's not available to drivers.
Well, it's basically, it's basically they had constant recording of the outward. Every minute it would update. But as far as the inward facing me, it was shut off, and he did show that to me. As far as my the mechanics department, which is they have access to it as well, and he showed me. He said we have absolutely no connection whatsoever to the inside. He said one here does. He said it's completely turned off. It's set up that way due to the factor of privacy. Now he said, however, if we wanted to activate it, of course, we would let all drivers know, and they would have to, sign a statement saying that it would be activated, and it would be usually because of accidents or something they've done that would, want to know more about that driver.
Yeah.
And, I was like, well, okay, I just was wondering, but he did show me quite a bit of footage of everything I did in 3 days' time, and I was like, wow, I didn't know y'all could see all that. He's like, oh yeah. He said, updates every minute.
Well, see, that's great. And it can almost in a sense be used for you, but it can also be used against you. You, as I understand, John, have access to that camera on the inside if you needed it for whatever purpose. Is that not true?
Yes, it is. Let me say two things really quick. That system that they had in that Amazon truck is the exact same system I have in my truck.
Is it?
And
okay.
Yes, and the voice that mine actually talks, but it's not people. It's an AI voice. It'll say slow down or object in the road or whatever.
Right.
That's part of the reason why I have my visor down, because it's run by AI. At least
Right.
mine is. I don't know if theirs is, but if I pick up, like, let's say I pick up my Mountain Dew and I'm drinking my Mountain Dew, holding it for a couple of seconds, they
Yeah.
can't tell the difference between a Mountain Dew and holding my phone.
Right.
So it's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
trigger
because the
camera
AI can't
automatic.
distinguish the two. Yeah.
Right. It just
exactly.
knows my hand went near my face, or if I rub my
Right.
like this. I do this a lot. Again, they can't tell why my hand's near my face, so it's going to trigger it. Anything that the AI sees as an adverse driving habit,
Yeah.
it's going to trigger it.
Yes.
That's why I keep mine down. The other thing I wanted to
Yep.
say, and it was more not on the note, but I'm just wondering why I look so tall, you look tall, Frank looks tall, but man, what's up with Midlife? He looks so short down there.
He let all the air out of his seat. That's the problem.
Put some
Smart
air in your
Alec.
seat, man.
Yeah, right.
Smart Alec.
Also wanted to briefly give an oi to Tolga, because I always like to acknowledge him. He's been with every one of my streams as well as yours, John. So
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, you bought him a membership.
oh, is that true? Yes, I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
Re-
I
do
appreciate that 100%.
Another thing to think about is these things also talk about whether you're tired and sleepy.
Mhm.
Well, I was about
What
to
if you
get-
yawn a little bit or you sneeze or,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, I was about to get to that too, but I was going to go in another direction, but give me just a second on that one. 176 says yes and no cameras facing the driver will make sure the person's doing as they should, but also invasive of a driver's own privacy and should be on assigned consent. Yes, I agree with that entirely. But here's the thing.
well, you
You
have
know,
to sign the consent. You don't have a choice. You either sign the
Exactly.
consent or you drive elsewhere.
Or you don't have a
you
job,
drive
yeah.
home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime you get a job,
Yeah. Oops, we lost John. Anytime, yeah. Anytime, I think where he was going with that is anytime you get a job, they make you sign a bunch of paperwork and they make you sign basically a contract. You've got no choice. You either agree to what they present in front of you or you walk. You know, you don't sign,
Yeah.
you can't work. You know, there's a
There,
number of
there
things
are
that you
states
can do.
that do require the signature for the camera, especially if it has audio.
Right.
And there are different states that require that there be consent, and they will have
Right.
no choice but sign it.
Yes.
I mean, you can sign it or you can get in your car and leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right. Welcome back, my internet laden friend. I don't know what happened to you, but yeah, I don't know if I completed your point for you, John, but I think you were going to say something about signing contracts and then you cut out.
no. Basically, when you take a job, you have to agree to their terms and policies. So if that job requires you to do something you don't like, you either don't take the job or you deal with the policy you don't like. It's just the way it is.
Yes.
In America, we have freedoms, but as soon as you want a job, you have to give up some of those freedoms to have that job because that company has a right to have its own policies. So it's just,
Okay,
it's just
now-
a fact
Right.
of life.
You bring up an interesting point, and I want to challenge you. It's what you would do to me now. You mentioned the word freedoms. You have to give up freedom.
Uh-huh.
But I argue now, is it freedoms or is it responsibility? How do you actually term that and how do you look at it? Because now think about it from this perspective. As easily as the company can be taking the footage from said camera and calling you in on the red carpet and saying, don't do, good job, they can
They never
easily
say
turn
good
around.
job.
Well, you get the point. But
Yeah.
they can easily use it and turn around and make it work in their favor. Like, let's say you work for a company that only has, let's say, 10 trucks, and you got the best truck in the fleet, hypothetically. And again, I'm just putting up a hypothetical, and this probably can happen. Let's say there's a fleet, 10 trucks, you drive the best truck in the fleet. The owners promised that best truck you're in to someone else who don't work there, but he wants to free up that truck. Can he now use that footage without your knowledge and say, hey, look, you're just an unsafe driver, get lost? It's very possible.
In most states, it's a right to work state. Most states are nowadays. So
Yeah.
honestly, they don't even need to have a reason anymore. If
Well,
they don't
yeah,
want
true.
you there, you
But
go. But
But
with
the point
HR,
that I make,
yes.
though, is that this now gives them an even heavier handed amount of arsenal, if you will.
Oh yeah.
To,
Oh yeah. Well, that's
yeah, let me do what I want. Yeah.
Let's
And
not
John,
cater
about
to
that
things.
policy, you said that they never say good things. That's something different. That has to do with the culture of the company, because I did a video talking about our safety department. I've actually gotten messages saying, good job not killing that idiot, or good job, avoiding that person. So I even had a forklift move inside my truck. 2 of them move, because I had to stand on the brakes when some idiot decided to cross 3 lanes of traffic because she missed her exit. And I had to take some evasive action. Well, fortunately that was one of those cases. Now I also have my own dash cameras. I have 2 Rexings on the window, but they looked at the video and they clearly saw that I went from, I think I was probably at 65, 67, and went down to 35 in a hurry.
Another thing I think they can do in terms of using the technology against you as an individual, I think can be found in this clip. And this kind of worries me, because this can go one of 2 different directions. Listen to this.
Your holds for that green zone and those green stars are green dollars. My vision for the next phase of our safety bonus is for it to be data driven. Right now, the safety bonus is based on the fact that you didn't have an accident over the last 13 weeks. And that's important. That's great. I want it to be based on the fact, not only did you not have an accident, but you've displayed habits that you are one of our best drivers in the fleet.
Now, that is kudos to him for actually thinking about ways to help the drivers not only improve quality, but improve in paycheck. But now I pose this argument. That same can be true in the opposite direction. If you have that kind of access to that kind of information, such that you can increase by bonus or pay rate a person's performance using this AI, you also have the ability to do the opposite. So put down in the comments.
Where did you hear they were going to go up in pay?
You 2 talked over each other.
Yeah, he didn't say anything about them going up in pay. He said that they were going to base the current safety bonus, instead of being on whether you had a wreck or not, based on whether you had how your driving habits were. I didn't hear anything about going up in pay.
I tend to read more into comments than the average bear, boo-boo. I look at, well, if they can give bonuses because of behaviors they're witnessing that, mind you, at one point in time, they didn't even know about, other than the inspections and traffic stops. Now they've got more access to more data, more information. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to throw out this, you got an ability to make more money now. Whether it's bonuses or pay rates, irrelevant, but the money's there. It's the carrot and the stick now. Now, if that can be true on one end, think about what they can do on the other. What do you think, John?
Here's what if you notice, he was very vague. I hate when companies are vague on good driving habits. Well, and if you're going to have a policy like that, you better lay out what driving habits you expect to see, because I don't want to hit a moving window. That's the one thing. When you're a new driver coming into this industry, if the policy is a moving window, it's set for you to fail. But if the policy is set in stone, like, hey, you drive, from point A to point B, you check your mirrors every 7 seconds, they tell what they expect, then it's different. But that was kind of vague. Like, that was what would worry me. So what's that comment?
I like this. He says, and Daniel Stephen writes words, some people who choose to make some policies are certified and just family friendly. I know that John gets that joke. I don't know what that
dummies. That's family friendly.
Okay. Well, no, it looks like he said something else, but
yeah, he said something different. Starts with dumb and ends with S.
Dumbs.
Yeah.
Dumbs. We'll just call it dumbs. I mean, hey.
It's the very thing. It's
and
the
yes,
very
I
thing
do get
grumpy old trucker. Yeah, it's the very thing the grumpy old trucker likes to talk about. Yeah, we're picking on you, old man.
I pleaded
What's your
fifth because I swear I cut out and he didn't hear the whole word last night, so I'm innocent.
All right, so what the old trucker? What say you on this whole used against you or used for you? I mean, does that not register with you? I mean, whether okay, they can give you bonuses, they may be able to give you, tips on being a safer driver, but what about if the shoe were to fall in the other direction? Are they now going to look to use that to fire you? Does that worry you?
No, because honestly, it's going to happen anyhow. Because if you look at this as in the field of people that work in factories and then work around anywhere else, there's cameras everywhere nowadays, and a lot of places use these cameras to watch their employees while they're working, and they evaluate them from that. And it's just an extra eye, as they say. So I mean, it was only time that it's going to happen with us drivers is they have no way of really watching us. So what better way than to throw a camera in our trucks that's stationed right at us the whole time we're driving? It does bother me because. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say the thing with those cameras though, in the example you cite though, is that when you're hired and you're working in a building, they announce it immediately and they put it the same on your contract in that as they do when you drive a truck. But there's an expectation that it's training material.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my opinion, it's no damn different. However, the average driver doesn't think like that. I'm not average by no means. I never claimed to be. The average driver is looking at it from a standpoint of, well, you don't trust me as a company. You don't appreciate the value of my skill. Because like Kersey pointed out at the start, the first thing I brought up, she said some of these people, they're going to feel insulted and they're going to feel unappreciated. If they've been, for example, working with the company or like yourself, 23 years in the business, they've got millions of miles on their belt. They've invested time. They've got a track record. They can prove their ability to be safe. Now they've got this eyeball looking at them, scrutinizing every single thing that they do. Different story. What she said is where they should be focusing their energy is on the guy that just started training drivers. Where they should be focusing their energy and resources is on the guy that was hired last year that's got 2 moving violations on his record and he's just flying in by the seat of his pants.
Can I say something?
I'll add to that.
What do you think?
Oh, go ahead, John.
Oh,
go ahead and that.
It's your conversation, Frank. I brought that up for your benefit.
Okay. All right. Well, anyhow, what I was going to say is when I worked for Crete, they had started putting more and more cameras into these trucks, but was mostly outward facing.
Right.
But the problem is like we had one driver down there that wound up having some kind of an accident. It was minor, but he still had an accident. Well, they come and said, well, we're going to put a camera in your truck to evaluate you for, I think they said 6 months or something like that. He was furious. He threw a fit. He said, well, I think I'll just go somewhere else. But guess what? He decided to stay anyhow. He went ahead and toughed it out. And that tends to happen. The older drivers are like, we'll gripe and we'll holler and all that. But then in the long run, if we're happy where we're at and we like our job because it's good pay and they take care of us, we learn to tough it out and go on with it. Now, if you're a new driver to a new company and all of a sudden they spring it on you, you're thinking, well, what's the deal? This is not supposed to happen. They told me in orientation they weren't going to do anything like this, and then all of a sudden they are. I could see that where a lot of drivers that are my age that's done it for a long time that would be a little dissatisfied with that.
Well, I mean, you would almost expect that with the newer drivers, that's going to happen, and that's even the point Kersey made. If you've only got maybe 2 or 3 years of driving experience, you're kind of expect to be watched, and you have no right, skill, or even expectation of getting away with fighting over it. But the people out there like yourself and me, 20 plus years, me 13 years, others here in combination probably have as much or longer. You know, we feel a little differently about this. You know, where it comes to your company, John, you may have, you know, different expectations, but like Hersey said, someone that's new hired, right there on, you know, fresh off the, you know, mill, if you will, you kind of almost need it. Training aids go long beyond school, and this camera setup kind of acts like that. What say you?
Can I point out an obvious here? And I hate to take it in this direction, but you know, when people have these conversations, the one thing that really annoys me is that nobody says what I'm about to say. You know, like when a pro athlete that's really producing for their team, they seem to get a lot of leeway in what happens because they produce for their team. It's no different in the corporate world or as a truck driver. If you're a great truck driver and you're producing all the time and you're doing your job really well and you do something really stupid, they're going to give you more leeway. Okay, it's just it's the way the world works. So no matter where that camera's facing you or not, if you're doing above and beyond your job and you're doing a great job at that job, you don't really have to worry about it as much, honestly. That's the reality of the world we live in. So just be the best you can be. Don't worry about all the other crap.
Now, with that being said, John, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and you're famous for that. Okay. I'm worried about the times. I don't have cameras. I don't have a dog in this fight, but for the sake of the audience and those watching, I'm driving down the road, and last minute I get a phone call, Bluetooth, no problem. And I'm told I've got to change route because you know what? I'm not going to place A. I've got to go to place B. So now I've got to quickly look at my map. Okay, and here's the caveat. I've got to quickly, as I'm driving down the road, look at my map, zoom in on that map, and see where the next rest area is. Boom, that camera's going to get me. I already know it's going to happen. And according to Prime's new point system they were talking about, your points are going to drop because of an unsafe movement. Now,
but that's exactly what they're trying to stop.
Well, yes, but it's not unsafe and distracted. It's just you're
trying to wait a minute.
Yes, it
is.
You're trying to prevent that. It is. 100%.
On the other hand, if you were using Trucker Path, navigation, you could say out loud, "Hey Luna, show me the nearest rest area," and it's going to pop up. Or you can also do that with your Garmin.
I use Trucker Path. I use Trucker Tools. We've been down that argument before, Tom. Listen, the point I just look. I hypothesized.
That is what they're trying to stop.
Right, but the point I'm making is, if you engage in activities that even something as simple as what John pointed out a minute ago, that is not a distraction.
It is.
That turns out because it's a movement similar to it, the AI picks it up as.
Oh, okay.
You see where I'm going? I mean, I
human reviews that.
Yeah,
okay, the AI picked it up, and then a human reviewed it.
Human, yeah.
And also, the Prime system is viewable by the human, by the driver.
Right. Right. But again, it goes against the
here's the thing about that.
Might necessarily not be as advantageous as they're advertising.
Well, here's the thing that goes along with that. With exactly what you're saying, I can actually speak directly towards that. The company I work for actually recently fired somebody for doing something on their GPS while they were driving, because it's no different than touching your phone. Guys, that is distracted driving. When you're looking, you need to be looking there, mirrors, windshield mirrors, like or gauges.
And I agree.
Like, you need to be doing that, not anything else. Now, here's the thing. If you work for a company that expects you to change on the fly without pulling over and correcting it, then you're with the wrong company. I mean, honestly, that's if they're going to say, well, you know, we sent you new things, and the
devil's in the details. And the reason I brought that up, the reason I brought that up is because there is a learning curve, and I'm sure that number one, Prime hasn't installed their camera yet. They're still in the process of doing it. It's probably going to take a full year. I think they said over a year for every single truck to be outfitted with it. So there's going to be, even after that, a huge learning curve, which is the whole purpose behind me bringing that part of the argument up. So I bear to ask the question: how many of us, or not us, but the drivers working at that company, are going to A, suffer, or B, leave before the end of the learning curve? What do you guys think? It's open to y'all.
Well, I was going to add to what you were just discussing. The moment that these right here, and I'm not wanting to fight, I'm just saying, leave that steering wheel, and them eyeballs look over when one hand goes somewhere, that's automatically inattentive driving, because you're not paying attention to what you're doing.
Exactly.
And that's what these companies are focusing on right there. Inattentive driving.
Right. Yep. Trucking is dead.
It doesn't mean we're a dangerous driver. It just means we're not paying attention to what we're supposed to be doing, what the law says.
Right. And you know what?
I knew I liked that guy.
And I fully agree with everything you just said, Frank. And both you, and all the guests on the show today are spot on. Y'all bring up some great points. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I brought this up because this is not something that's here today, gone tomorrow. You know, like you pointed out earlier, Frank, you said that, you know, the forward-facing cameras used to be a big argument. We've since gotten over that and accepted that that technology is here to stay. And in fact, further push the fact, moreover, that they assist us, protect us, and cover our butts. So what are your last thoughts moving forward? How long do you think it'll take? And this one goes to you, Tom. How long do you think it'll take the industry, more or less, not just one company, but the industry, more or less, to accept the fact that these things are necessary, are going to be here to stay, and those people trying to avoid it basically have no choice but to accept it?
Oh, people are going to accept it, but it's going to happen regardless of whether they want it or not.
Man, you just said what I was about to say. I hate to poo-poo your point. The insurance companies are going to mandate it, and it's going to happen in every truck. It has nothing to do with whether you want it or not. It has to do with the powers to be is going to say it has to happen, and it has to happen. End of story. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if FMCSA said it had to
happen. Whether I like it or not, it doesn't matter.
Well, I was just about to raise that point. Right now,
regulate everything.
Not a regulation. I was going to say right now it's not a regulation, but at the rate things are going, and at the rate insurance companies are pulling out and pulling away from trucking companies, that wouldn't surprise me. You know, because think about it. If every insurance company decided, you know what, you're too risky, you'd almost have no choice.
You know who will push it? The ATA. What? I guarantee the ATA will push it.
Yeah, I think so. I somehow see that coming. I fully agree with that.
Well, it depends on who lines their pockets first. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out
loud? Any last thoughts, Frank?
I'm just going to say right now, it's going to be a more and more topic, because the factor of it is everybody's going to have to get used to it. Whether you're a new driver, an ancient driver like myself that's been out here for a while, you know, you're going to have to get used to these cameras because they're everywhere. It don't matter if they're in the truck looking at you or not. They're going to be out there on the highway looking at you. So congratulations. You're being watched. Big Brother is watching.
Yeah, that's going to be the case no matter where you go.
None of this matters when AI drives our truck anyway. So